Well, good frosty morning, friends. Welcome to December. Richard here, and welcome back to the Firepit. I hope everybody's doing well. Good to be back. Good to be back sharing with you. I took last week off for Thanksgiving and just got to spend some good time, joyful time with my family, and enjoy some food and all that. So I hope everybody's doing well on your end. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving, whatever that looked like for you this year. I know for many of us it looked a little different, but I hope you, if you were able to, I hope you were able to celebrate well with your family, like and friends, like it should be. Yeah, it's been a crazy year, of course, but here we are in December now, and it feels like December here in Georgia. It's very frosty this morning. We're in the mid-20s right now, this early morning, and but I enjoy it. The sun's starting to come up over to my left, and it's just a beautiful morning. And so yeah, I'm just here this week, and just wanted to share some more thoughts with all of you. And I don't know, there's been a lot of things I've contemplated over the last week, or a couple weeks actually, with Thanksgiving on the rise and now coming into the Christmas season and everything, just kind of contemplating this year and what that's meant, and of course with Thanksgiving it gives you pause to kind of pause and think about what are you thankful for in life. And of course I had a lot of things to think about with that, because there's so much that I'm thankful for, and just even shared with a friend of mine just how thankful I was that we got to meet a decade ago. Just an encounter through the wonderful sport of baseball led to a series. It started, I think, a cycle in my life. This man's now my pastor and friend, and a big brother in our faith, and to me, and but just what it's meant to me, of the way kind of God fathered me through that, of this this beginning of a series of rescues that happened over the course of time. And I think that was one of the early ones. So it's kind of wild to see how God's kind of had just worked in that over the last decade, and leading to me finally surrendering my life to Jesus 6 years ago, and almost 6 years ago, and what that cascade has continued to look like in my life, and the way it's trickled and the effect it's had on those around me. And it's amazing, and it's a story that I pray and I hope repeats itself with so many other men, because I know so many of us have been disoriented, lost in a lot of different ways, and but what can happen when we truly give our lives over to Christ, and really begin to stand as the men that we're called to be, and receive the identity that God has really given each one of us, and when we begin to walk in that, what the effect that begins to have, the collective effect it has on those around you, is just amazing. Just kind of reflecting on that. I spent some time in that last week, especially, and Thanksgiving morning, just really just kind of hit me, and it was just such a good thing to ponder, and the way that's what that's meant in my life, and how that was one of a series of events that has led to God's rescue of my heart. And so yeah, that's kind of where that was last week, and then other things, even in this year, in the environment that we find ourselves in, and there's all this fear, this uncertainty, and questioning, where are things going now. There's the resurgence of all this fear with this virus again is on the rise again, and people are worried that their lives are going to be put on hold again, and what's going to happen. Are things going to shut down? Are we going to be told to stay home? Or our church is going to close again? God, I hope not. What's all that going to mean? And but the reality in all of that, it's all kind of It's all focused on this external stuff. We're all worried about this external stuff. We never look internally. What does this affect on? What's the effect it has on each one of us? How does it affect the way we see God's hand in everything that's happening? And I know for some, there are so many that are blaming God for what's going on. I'm sure that's the case, because we deal with any kind of trauma, any kind of events in our lives that really change and alter our mode of operating, the way we do things, the way we're used to life going on. It has a lasting effect, and oftentimes it affects the way we see God working, because, He's the one supposed to be in control, right? So I don't know how that's affected you personally. I don't know what that's looked like in your story, but the one thing I know to be absolutely positively true in the midst of everything that's happened here, because is that God is not the one that's causing the fear. God, that is not his MO. The master of fear and lies and deceit, condemnation, and all that comes from Satan himself, and that's who's trying to infiltrate every single one of our hearts right now. And he has used this year, and we look at this year as one of the worst years we've ever been. And I promise you, it's the worst year we've ever been in right now. That's if you've never lived in any other time in history. But it's Satan knows where we've been vulnerable. In this culture, and particularly in the United States, we are a culture that is so wrapped up in material, so wrapped up in doing, so wrapped up in performing, so wrapped up in so many things within ourselves, right? A lot of this self-centered kind of style of thinking and doing, and when the self gets assaulted, when my world personally gets assaulted, starts to take us out, and then we start casting blame for what's going on and everything. But I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that I know that God is not the orchestrator of it, but he's the one that's going to redeem every bit of what's going on. But he's the one that can bring freedom to everybody. He's the one that can use this difficulty and this trial right now to bring out greater freedom in your life if you're willing to let him. And that's what he wants to do right now. That's what he wants to do in your life if you're willing to let him do that. As I'm telling you, that's what he did in my life. I've seen nothing but his presence, especially in the last year, 2 years in my life, for me and for my family. A year ago, we went through a very tough 2019 for us personally. It was a very challenging time. And then we get into 2020, and it's, a lot of difficulties still remained in a lot of way, but, God had used so much of that to really orient our hearts towards him and entrusting him in what he's wanting to do in all of that. And that's been the most beautiful thing for us personally in all of this, is the way God continued to work in our hearts. So I'm just ever thankful for that, and what he's doing. And it's such an amazing thing to see, and to really be able to trust that no matter what these news cycles throw at us, if you want to call them news now, I don't even know if you can call it news anymore. If through all of that God is still ever present and sovereign in everything, and that he's the one that has the final say in all that. And that's the most glorious and beautiful thing about all of it. So yeah, that's kind of one of the things I'm thinking about. And the other thing I was kind of pondering today and this week especially, because we got into this weekend. We had our anvil. If you watched my last video, I talked about our anvil weekend, and coming off of that and begin to still challenge men to really stand up, and what that means and what that can mean. And I talked about it just a few minutes ago. Coming off that, and it was just a wonderful weekend, a wonderful time with these men in the mountains. But then I get back, and it's right back into the thick, right back into the daily grind of working and on the road and selling and all those things. And I hadn't really had time to really decompress and rest from it. this past Saturday is probably the first time I really got some time to really kind of first celebrate what that weekend was and how and the goodness of it. I just spending some time to myself. I hung a hammock right here behind where I'm sitting right now, had a cigar, and just relaxed for a few hours. Read a little bit in this new book I'm diving into. I'll talk about that another time, but I really just got to kind of breathe, and I hadn't allowed myself the chance to really breathe yet since we returned. I realized how ragged I was, how much I was running ragged in the day-to-day, and trying to get life still going, trying to get my job done, and all of that, and then the Thanksgiving holiday coming up, preparing for that with my family, and then the decorating for Christmas, which we love to do, and I love looking out and seeing our decorations out in our yard and in our house every morning and every day, but I hadn't really had time to rest, and then this week, I was in a Zoom call with some like-hearted kings, some men that I've some that I know personally, some that I don't, but that we've walked in the same direction and the same message for the last several years. And there was an image that was posed to us of you think of two circles, right? So I want you to imagine you got two circles right here, and in one you've got arrows going out in every single direction. And the other one, you have one arrow pointing straight up. When you think about that, and we were asked to just look at those two images for 30 seconds and just ponder what that looks like, and what settles in our heart. And for me personally, it really aggravated me, because I know where I want to be. I realized what those circles represent was energy. And how much energy do we have going in 1,000 different directions versus in a single point in direction that God's really trying to lead us into? And it was very disruptive for me, because I realized I want to be in that circle where everything's directionally towards God, where I'm following exactly where He's trying to lead me, and listening for Him, and being able to pause and rest in that, and see where He's leading. But I realized in this especially the last few weeks, and getting ready for Anvil, and then after Anvil, and coming into the holiday season, and the craziness of my work schedule, and all of that, I realized I'm still shooting in a bunch of different directions, and I didn't like that. I don't like that. I don't like. This isn't me saying that I hate my job and I need to quit it and all this kind of stuff. That's not what I'm saying. It's a matter of looking at how much of our energy is directionally focused towards the things that are most important, the things that are most essential in our lives. Because I think for them in a lot of ways, we focus on the things that are less essential, that are non-essential in our lives, but we feel that they're important. We feel that they need to get done. So in the end, we end up worn down. Our souls are tired, our hearts are tired, our minds are tired, our bodies are tired, and it's hard to keep things going. So it was a very disruptive thing to kind of sit with. And then the conversation I had with a smaller group of men. Some I know, again, that I know personally, and the others not so much, but still we walk in unison in the same message. And we realize very much so that this was an invitation from God to really begin to get back margin and focus on the things that are most essential for us, and most essential for our hearts, and most essential where God is trying to lead us. And there's so much more I could say on that, but it really just gave me pause to think about, and for you that are watching, for you to think about, and those that are listening, where are you spending so much of your time? If you think of two circles of energy, is your energy focused in a single direction, or are you pointing in a much different directions? And I think the overarching thing for a lot of us, especially in this culture, is that we are spent in 100 different directions. And even when we get glimpses, because I had a time Well, my life was really slowed down earlier this year when I was between jobs and I wasn't sure where God was leading us yet, but I had a lot of time to just focus directly on God and really kind of sit in His presence and really seek His guidance and everything. So everything just felt rested, and I was more directionally focused. And now it seems like sometimes the more the non-essentials come into place, and it takes a toll on me. Even my wife, God bless her, she notices sometimes in those days when I come home and I'm spent. And when those things happens, when you're spent, when your energy's sapped, and as has been mine, it begins to take a toll on those around us, because I know it affected her, and I'm sure it affects the mood of the home as a whole, being the dad and the husband in the house. And so we have to, those are things that really need to be taken into consideration for our souls and for our lives, is how much is focusing on the things that are, again, most essential for our lives, and being willing to let go of the things that maybe aren't so essential for us. And that's just where I want to challenge each one of us today to sit thinking about that, is where's all your energy focused? The holiday season is sometimes we usually get a chance to stop and think about things like that a little bit more. We get some time with family, we take time off from work, and so we get a little more time to rest if we allow ourselves to rest a little bit. So maybe spend some time contemplating that. What does that look like for you? What are the non-essential things that maybe you need, and maybe God is trying to lead you to maybe let go of, say no to the things that aren't needed. I think that's just something we have to think about for each one of us. I'm certainly thinking about it, because it certainly disrupts me, and it's something that I'm really going to have to work through and really I'm accepting this invitation to walk in it and think about it. So that's where I am this week, friends. And I hope this is helpful. I hope it gives you something to really ponder for yourself as we move into December and begin to wrap up this year, and we really kind of think about where God's leading us in the coming year. That's good stuff. So thank you again, friends. Thank you for joining me for this week's Firepit Conversation. I'll see y'all next time in the Firepit. Take care and God bless, friends.